who spent 4th grade in California and had to make a mission out of sugar cubes? Raise your hands. How many of you have erased that from your memory? Well, I'm here to bring it back. I'm not from California, I'm from Ohio, which has its own special kind of pain. But I knew about the missions. You see, I'm a history geek. I kill it for trivia nights. Lady Jane Grey, 9-day reign, July 10th through 19th, 1553, beheaded by her third cousin, Bloody Mary. Thank you very much. So when I stumbled upon Mission San Francisco, Solano de Sonoma, Solano Mission, 1823, while I was on a wine tasting tour, I had to walk in. It's really, really unimpressive. I mean, it's nice, but, you know, meh. This is the last mission founded and the most northern. This is the original building, but it was restored in 1911, and the mission is run by the state of California. The mission docent. Well, a nice little old lady, probably been there since 1911.
Oh.
She can tell you everything there is to know about Sonoma Mission, including the names of every person she's bored to death over the years. This mission didn't last very long. Only 11 years, and I bet you didn't know this is where California was declared a republic back in 1846. Ooh, useless mission factoid. I love that kind of stuff. She had me in 1846. Wow, I didn't know that. It's really nice talking to you. We don't get many blacks here. Or any blacks. I'm doubling Sonoma's black population. I don't know why she said it, but I gave my usual response when I hear something like that. Okay. There's so much religion here, just like the black churches. I grew up in a black Baptist church. This was Sunday morning. And Jesus, and the Lord down here, and he said, yes, sir. Reverend Davis did that for 45 minutes, yelling and screaming what seemed like nonsense. The minister at my grandmother's church in Georgia did the same thing. Afterwards, he'd always say, Lord, didn't our hearts burn from that rich, rich word, which translated from black church speak meant, Lord, I had no idea what that man was preaching about. Services were no better. People would roll around on the ground, raise their arms up in the air like they were having seizures. Scared me to death. I did whatever I could not to go to church every Sunday. Now, don't get me wrong, I was religious. Make us as late as possible, get it over with. That was my religion. This all changed in 6th grade when my parents sent me to St. Albert Catholic School on the other side of town in the 70s, all white. I was a fly in a bowl of milk. And yay, more church. In nomine Patri, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti, Amen. I didn't know what he was saying either, but he wasn't yelling at me. I mean, the whole thing was strange. I mean, kneel, stand, sit, repeat. You know, the incense, I thought it was a bomb. There was a big cross in my church behind the altar. It was empty. This church, there was a big cross over the altar with a body of dead Jesus Christ on it. That was weird to me. It was church during the week. It made no sense. I liked it. Quiet church. Dull music. For the first time in my life, church didn't scare me. So I met God twice a week. Dull and safe during the week, loud and scary on the weekends. That's also where I first learned about the missions. Good Catholic Franciscans converted the Native Americans to Christianity, and they lived happily ever after. And then later on, they taught us that the Civil War was just about states' rights. So getting back to the little old lady in the black churches, I kind of doubt she's actually ever really been to a black church. Really? The black churches? I visited several when I marched with Dr. King in Selma. Just goes to show, never judge. So do you like history? You know we have a museum. We have some wonderful artifacts there. She grabs my hand and she takes me to the museum. which is really kind of 4 large rooms. But inside, there are 11 just stunning watercolors. And they look like they're of old missions in ruins. Now she has my attention. These were painted by Chris Jorgensen when he visited all 21 by covered wagon back in 1903. Aren't they beautiful? We're trying to get all 21 pictures here. Can you imagine visiting all 21 missions? Yes, yes I can. I thought to myself, I'm single, I've got no kids, I've got no life. I love history, love churches. Road trip. I got a Mini Cooper that gets 50 miles an hour, and I got a Canon camera. 700 miles from San Rafael all the way down to San Diego. A week, tops. Or longer, as it turned out. So, I started with the local missions first. Mission San Rafael, Archangel, 1817. Now I'm going to categorize the mission churches so you have an idea. First category, original. Pretty self-explanatory. Maybe a few modifications, but the original church was still there. Second category, restoration. Maybe the walls and the roof were still there, but the inside was ruined, so they restored it. Third category, replicant. There was nothing left, they built whatever they wanted to. This is a replicant. Useless mission factoid, this actually was the first mission church built entirely by Native Americans. I go inside. Wow. Compared to Solano Mission, this is worse. I mean, it's tiny, and the stucco reminds me of my apartment, without the pews and the altar. But there's a local mission priest to give me some information. While this is a smaller reproduction of what was thought to be the original church, there are no surviving pictures of the original church. This actually wasn't a mission at first. This was a sanitarium that was built for the Native Americans from Mission Dolores who were sick from disease. The weather here in Marin County was thought to make them better. It got so crowded after 6 years that it was converted into a mission. That was surprising. I hadn't expected to hear that the Franciscans actually built a mission to help the Native Americans. I mean, it was nice. I'm not sure if I was expecting Westminster Abbey in the middle of Marin County, but I left a little more than disillusioned and drove to Mission San Francisco d'Assis, 1776. Category, original. Useless mission factoid, this is the oldest surviving structure in San Francisco. During the '06 earthquake, this building stayed erect. The Victorian church next to it collapsed into rubble. This is what I've been waiting for. Original wood floors that slant sideways. Beautiful Spanish altar. Wow. Ceilings alive with chevrons. Probably repainted recently. Outside, there are 5,700 Native Americans buried on the grounds, mostly under the school parking lot. In the cemetery, there's a memorial for the Ohlone Indians who were here, as well as a reproduced reed hut. And the museum has a display of Native American history artifacts. I wander for about 45 minutes, and then I head over to the gift shop. As I'm thumbing through looking for a mission book to buy, geek that I am, I hear, "You look so familiar." The woman behind the counter has been staring at me in a not so subtle way. I look up, I smile, I go back to my book. I grab a book, I go to the counter to pay for it. I know I've seen you someplace before. Oh, this is a really good book. Have you visited many of the missions? No, this is my third one, but this is the most impressive. How did it remain intact? Well, the roof stayed intact. See, most of the missions during secularization, the roofs either collapsed or they were stolen, and the weather melted the churches. Secularization, I don't know what that word means. Oh, well, when Spain, I've got it. You look like Richard Roundtree. Has anyone ever told you that? My girlfriend and I thought he was so hot, and he was black. Yes, ma'am, he's still black. The original Shaft. You know, at least she had taste. he was cool. If you were a black kid in the 70s, you wanted to be Shaft. And back when I had a mustache, yeah, I know. This is Richard today, older than 70. His hairline's receding as well, so I have hope. I go to pay for my book, and I hand her the money. Well, here you go. Enjoy your book, Shaft. I was going to ask her to keep talking about secularization, but I didn't want her to sing the theme song to Shaft. So I left her, and I moved on to my next mission. Mission del Gloriosimo Patriarca San Jose, 1797, in Fremont. Category, replication. Useless mission factoid. This is the only mission that is in the East Bay, and the only mission not on the El Camino Real. Rebuilt in 1985 to mimic the church that stood there until about 1830. It's nice, but not too exciting. Kind of like Fremont. Mission Santa Clara d'Assis, 1777. Category, replicant. Useless mission factoid. The bells in this mission have rung every evening at 8:30 since 1798. Fascinating thing. The land was owned by the Franciscans, who donated it to the Jesuits in 1851, who then created California's first college, Santa Clara University. The mission chapel is what the mission church originally was, and it's beautiful. But there's not much of the original mission left. Now, I'm done with all the local missions. I have about a week before I need to go on. And I figure that's a great time for me to sit down and read my new mission book cover to cover. Yeah, that didn't happen. So the next week, I started the bulk of my journey. First up, La Exaltación de la Santa Cruz, 1791. Category, replicant. Useless mission factoid. This is the site of California's first autopsy, performed on Father Quintana, the local mission priest who apparently used to beat the Native Americans with a wire-tipped chain. He died under mysterious circumstances. I walk inside. It's tiny. It's pretty. The sign on the wall says it was redone in 1931. It also says this is the first mission that was secularized. And I still don't know what that word means. Then I remember, I've got an unread mission book. I leave the mission. I go to downtown Santa Cruz. I buy some lunch. I sit at an outdoor table, and I start to open my book. Now, bear with me. What follows is 60 seconds of mission history. California and Mexico were Spanish territories, and then the Spanish government decided to send Spanish missionaries, Franciscans, led by Junipero Serra, to California to convert the Native Americans to Catholicism. The first mission, anyone, I mentioned it before, San Diego, 1769. The last mission, I mentioned it as well, Solano Mission, 1823. 21 missions in 54 years. Simple plan, establish a mission, convert the neophytes, new word, neophytes, to Christianity. Now, once these neophytes prove they can live in the Spanish way, then the lands and the missions were left to them. However, 1821, Mexico wins its independence from Spain, but they don't have the money to maintain the missions. So, in 1834, secularization. Say it with me. Secularization. Yes. Mexican government boots the Spanish Franciscans back to Spain. They then decide to give, translate sell, half the lands to the neophytes who have no money, and the other half to the non-Native American Californians. Guess who got screwed? Over the next 100 years, half of the missions turned out in ruins. Now, as I'm reading all this information, I'm looking across and I see this kind of older white couple looking for a table. I decide that I'm done. I pack my stuff up. I get their attention. Excuse me, sir, you can have my table. They come up. He's so happy. He's like, righteous, my brother. Cool. He then walks up to me. Let me borrow your hand. He proceeds to do this perfect 5-point soul handshake. Yeah, I can't do it either. They sit down in the chair. He stares. You know, you look like Will Smith, you know, Fresh Prince. Anyone ever told you that? No. As I'm walking away, I hear him say to his friend, "Black people, so cool." Where do I begin? You know, if my grandmother was there, she would have looked at him and said, "Bless your heart," which is a southern way of saying, "You are such an idiot." My question is, which Will Smith did he mean? This one? Or maybe he meant, this one. The whole handshake thing reminded me of when I was early in Catholic schools. You know, I was a novelty. The cool thing to do was to touch my hair because it was an afro. You know, they were nice, not mean, some of them were. There was one kid who was so fascinated with my hair, he showed up one day with this big blonde afro perm. Oh. He looked like a walking lemon geopet. That was in Ohio in the 70s. This was Santa Cruz 7 years ago. It was a little bit strange, but I had other missions to see, so I left my newfound half-soul brother, and I went to the next mission. Mission San Juan Bautista, 1797. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. This is the only mission built directly on the San Andreas Fault. Now, bear with me. I'm about to geek out. This church has been in continuous use for 205 years. It sits on the only original remaining Spanish plaza in California. On the opposite side of the plaza is the Plaza Hotel, which actually was the original barracks for the Spanish soldiers. There are 30 original buildings in the area still being used. I'm having a history orgasm. It's a real word. Look it up. You know, the movie Vertigo, the bell tower, when Jimmy Stewart climbed, it's here. I can climb it just like Jimmy Stewart did, except it doesn't exist. It collapsed years before. Hitchcock just made it up. Disappointed. I need a cigarette. I go to the other side of the church, and I stumble on the cemetery, and there's a sign. 4,000 Native American and European remains are here in unmarked graves. Curious, because in my reading I found out that 19,400 Native Americans died at this mission. What happened to the other 15,000 bodies? I decided to ask one of the guides. Excuse me, the sign says 4,000 people are buried here, but I've read that more than 19,000 died here. Where are the rest of the bodies? Oh, they're, you know, let me go ask somebody. She goes off in the other direction, and I think, it's not really that hard of a question. Oh, buried and forgotten. Kind of like the slave cemeteries in this country. You know, they found a slave cemetery in Manhattan when they were building a new federal building. Eventually they exhumed the remains of 419 people, but documentation says that there were 10,000 slaves buried in that cemetery. Huh. Buried and forgotten. She never did come back. Huh. Well, I still have other missions to see, so I decided to go on. Mission San Carlos Borromeo del Rio Carmelo, 1770. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. This was the first mission church built entirely of stone. The courtyard is gorgeous. Concrete, which has got stone pavement down through here, stone paved walls. The church itself is kind of like a cathedral. Beautiful. But over the door is this really interesting star-shaped window. If you come back tomorrow, I'll show you something. The mission docent snuck up on me. She's older than the one at Solano Mission. She's spry. Really spry. She's got 5 name tags. They all say Agnes on them. That smile kind of creeped me out. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I'm serious. 5:45 tomorrow morning, the sun comes through the window and it hits the altar. It happens once a year and it's amazing. Please come. It sounds amazing, but I'm looking at her thinking, 5:45? Yeah, no. So 5:40 a.m. the next morning, I'm standing in the middle of the church with Agnes and 4 very other stupid people. I haven't had my coffee. Agnes is still spry. It's annoying. You know, the thought is that the Native Americans designed the windows since they worship the solstice. It's now 5:43 in the morning and she's spitting out factoids. How am I supposed to remember that? Oh yeah, right. I'm a geek. 5:45 a.m. The sun comes through that window and lands on the altar. It is Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're in the map room with the sun coming through at 9 o'clock, hits the staff of Ra, hits the well of souls, shows exactly where the underground is supposed to be buried. Crazy cool. Yeah, it's not that cool, but it was really nice. It kind of reminded me of the church I grew up in, you know, the scary one. We had this big stained glass window, and sometimes the sun would come right through and light up the floor with color, right in front of Reverend Davis. And he'd say, that's the Lord right there. He likes what I'm saying. And he is a no one. Still don't understand. Back to the church in the window. We all just marvel. Just magnificent, isn't it? Yeah, it really is beautiful. Do you know who Rayford Johnson is? Yeah, he won the Olympic gold medal in 1960 decathlon. Useless factoid, sports edition. Well, you look just like him. Has anyone ever told you that? Then everybody chimes in. Oh yeah, you're right, honey, he does. Oh no, he looks like Sidney Poitier. Sidney, yes! This is Rayford Johnson. Let me push my jaw forward. And this is Sidney Poitier. They call me Mr. Tibbs. One of my acting heroes. I mean, at least the comparisons were kind of plausible and not completely crazy, like to say, Beyonce. I mean, I get compared to famous people sometimes. Usually in San Francisco, it's Barry Bonds. But I'm starting to ask myself, do these people even know any black people? And if they do, is it just the famous ones they know? I mean, it's like they all read the same travel guide. I'm Rick Steves with my new book, Talking to Black Folk at the Mission. Keep on traveling. Richard Roundtree, Sidney Poitier. No, I don't have to think about. I have no time to think about this right now. I have other missions to go see. So, because I have a wonderful stage manager who helped me with a mistake that I discovered in the last performance, Sarah, would you put the slide up? Thank you. This. Mission Nuestra Senora de la Soledad, Our Lady of Solitude, 1791. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. No mission priest has served at this mission since 1835. It sits out in the middle of an open field, in the middle of nowhere. The church was flooded out and destroyed at least 4 times. It sat in ruins for 100 years. I go inside, and it's lovely. It's small. The sign says it was built in 1955. There's nothing of the original mission left. I guess this is still history. I mean, it's not just walking into a church that's been standing in Italy since 851. It's also standing in a church that was built in 1955 and has no remaining ruins. Huh. I like being in churches and alone with God. But here, I just felt alone. So I left. I went to my next mission, this one. Mission San Antonio de Padua, 1771. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. This is the site of California's first Christian marriage in 1773. You have to drive through Fort Liggett Army Base to get to this mission. And it makes perfect sense, because most of the missions had garrisons of Spanish soldiers on anyway, so it makes sense it sits on an army base. There are lots of ruins around the outside, and the church itself is beautifully restored. It's 105 degrees. Time to go. Moving on to the next mission. Mission San Miguel Archangel, 1797. Category, original. Useless mission factoid. This is the only mission in the entire chain in which all of the original artwork on the inside has remained intact, untouched. This is my fourth mission of the day. I'm tired. I want to go to the hotel. I'm going to just walk in here and I'll be out of here and just... Not leaving. Wow, this really is the original artwork. Look at this. Columns, porticos, oh my God, bordering. All of it painted to look three-dimensional. This is extraordinary. This has got to be St. Michael. He's got Native American features. Wow, this is different than the other artwork here. I mean, most Spanish art for churches is very oppressive, beautiful, but paintings of Jesus Christ like this, blood everywhere, and Mary's usually down below, praying, tears everywhere, and there are saints on either side, praying, and there are tears everywhere. Beautiful, but depressing. This seemed actually happy. He's smiling. Huh. And I wonder if this artist just wanted to put his face here, or was this his wonderful way of expressing his new faith? It's just beautiful, isn't it? The mission guide snuck up on me. She looks nothing like the other guys. Late 20s, early 30s, tall, brunette, glasses. We chat. See, it was so expensive for them to bring in marble from Spain, so they painted the porticos and the columns to make them look three-dimensional. It's just absolutely amazing. I love this artwork. Even during the mission revival period, where everything was whitewashed, this was left alone. I love standing in this church looking at this. Yeah, I mean, this is just stunning. So, I get off in like half an hour, and there's a bar we can go to. Did she just ask me out? I'm sorry, but I've got a girlfriend. I understand. Oh, you should check out our cemetery. There are 5,700 Native Americans buried out there. I mean, sadly, there's no memorial here for the Native Americans at all. I don't see your girlfriend anywhere. Hey, Joe Robinson. The inner Fred voice says, say she's back at the hotel. Got it. Oh, she's back in San Francisco. Oh, I'll just wait for you over here. God has a sense of humor. I watch her walk away, and I see a group of Asian tourists entering the back of the church. They're all taking pictures. They're all following a lady with an umbrella. Suddenly, they notice me. I'm surrounded. They're taking pictures. They're pulling at me, talking. Finally, the lady with the umbrella pushes through the crowd up to me and says, "We're so excited to meet you, Mr. Barry Bonds. You watch me on TV. Can we take a picture?" Yeah, maybe. So, I let them take pictures with Barry Bonds. Signed a few autographs. Somewhere in Japan, 30 people were selling their memorabilia on eBay. By the way, I did turn the young lady down 3 times. Next day, I move on to Mission San Luis Obispo de Tolosa, 1772. Category, replicant. Useless mission factoid. This is the only mission church that is in the shape of an L. Most are just one straight line going back. I walk in hoping for the same thing that I found at San Miguel. No such luck. It's a pretty modern, updated place in the middle of downtown. Most of the original artwork has been paneled over or whitewashed over the years. It's pretty. There's no Native American anything. However, there's a priest who did give me a little bit of history about the Native Americans. Well, the Native Americans came here, and they were converted to Catholicism, and then they lived and worked here at the mission, and then they were taught to read and to pray, and they were taught music, and they even built a satellite called Santa Margarita for the distant Native Americans. History, sugar-coated and sanitized, without the details. Kind of reminded me of the history I got taught in grade school. When they talked about the Civil War, slavery was mentioned, but details were glossed over. Mr. Wade would say, well, let's just say that Fred and Jay and Sean and Anita and Cheryl were slaves. They would work in the fields during the day, but then at night they would go home and cook their meals with their families, and then on Sunday they'd go to church, and then they'd sing and dance the rest of the day.
Oh my God.
Now, if you heard that, you wouldn't think slavery was so bad, would you? But history depends on who's teaching it and what they want you to remember. Now, there is a darker side to the mission history that I'm starting to read about. I'm just waiting for one of these missions just to mention it. Mission La Purísima Concepción de María Santissima, 1787. Category, replication. Useless mission factoid. This is the only mission that is built in a solid line. Most buildings are quadrangle with the church at one corner. This is just one building in a line after another. However, it is the most authentically and realistically reproduced mission in the entire chain. The church is exactly as it was in the 1820s. There are 20 fully reproduced buildings on top of ruins. They are filled with authentic period furniture or remade furniture from that period. The guides on site, many of them are Chumash Indian descendants, and they all wear period garb. There's no pretty gardens, there's no lovely walls, there's no fountains. It's dirt roads, it's gravel, it's wood fences everywhere. It is mission life as it was 200 years ago. And our appropriately dressed guide explains, this is a manjero. This is the big room where the young Native American girls were kept, the ones under 18. They were kept from the Native American men, and the Spanish soldiers wanted to keep them pure. Problem was, there were hundreds of girls in this room every night from 6 p.m. until the morning. No windows, one door. 1 or 2 buckets for sanitation. Hundreds of young girls died from smallpox, from tuberculosis, from starvation. This is the first time I've heard anybody mention the human tragedy that is associated with mission history. This wasn't sugar-coated history. This was castor oil. This was Mr. Wade telling us, let's say Fred and Cheryl and Jay and Sean and Anita were slaves. They would work in the fields sometimes 18 hours a day in 100-degree heat, sometimes passing out without getting food or water. If they tried to escape, then they could be mutilated, or they could be castrated, or they could be hung. So my question is, why is it so hard to tell that real history as opposed to this revisionist nonsense? I'm sorry, sir, I'm not yelling at you. I'm going to yell at the guy. Why is it so hard to tell the real history instead of this revisionist nonsense? This mission is run by the state of California. So is Solano Mission. Our job is to tell the entire history. History of the Spanish Franciscans, history of the Native Americans, history of the Californios, every history. We focus on the mission. The others focus on the church, except for Mission Dolores. Their curator is a descendant of the Ohlone Indians. He makes that mission tell both sides. Refreshing. Now it's true, I love the old Bibles, the old missals, the priest vestments, the depressing Spanish artwork. But it's just Franciscan history. It's as if everything is just okay. And I bought it. I mean, think back, I talked about San Rafael. I was kind of happy that they built a hospital for the Native Americans to recover from the diseases that they brought over from Spain that they had no immunity for. I was actually mad at myself for not questioning that half the history was missing. But now I'm fascinated. She's talking about the storm. I'm asking questions. There are people around me. Everyone's asking questions. There's a tap on my shoulder. Little lady next to me wants to ask me a question. Excuse me, I just have a quick question. Sir, my girlfriend and I were just thinking, did you ever watch The Love Boat?
We loved Isaac the bartender. You look just like him. Has anyone ever told you that? That afro, which I didn't have. That mustache, which I didn't have. I cannot make my face do this. We don't all look alike. I mean, I know some of the other black people at the missions, and I'm starting to feel like I'm kind of an outcast. I mean, am I that different? Am I different because I like all kinds of history? Because when I travel, I go to old churches, Chartres, Westminster, Saint Antimo, you know, the 1,200-year-old church I mentioned before. Am I different because when I sit in my old church I grew up in, I love the fact that there's 150 years of old pastors on the wall? Am I that different? You know, we're products of our surroundings. And I can't help but wonder, if I hadn't gone to a white Catholic school in 6th grade, would things have been different? I don't know. I mean, do you know? Does anybody know? I mean, do we even get to know? Huh. Questions to be answered. Moving on to my next mission. Mission Santa Ines Virgin y Martyr, 1804. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. This is the site of the largest Native American uprising in the mission history. Started with the beating of a neophyte, Native American, by a Spanish soldier. Now, the church inside is really beautiful. It's been restored. And this has the largest collection of Franciscan memorabilia. All the Bibles, investments, and everything else I told you about, which was cool. Nothing, I mean nothing, about the Native American uprising. But given what I know now about the missions, I'm not surprised. But this isn't the most interesting thing about this mission. Because as I'm driving toward it, I turn off of a road to this kind of uninhabited street, and then all of a sudden I see hotels and motels, and then lots of tourists in the middle of nowhere. And then a bunch of red flags with a big red cross on it everywhere. And I'm thinking, Swiss hotel here? I turn right. All of a sudden, it's like I entered a Hans Christian Andersen book. Everything is Danish. At the end of the street is a big windmill. And a bunch of signs saying what the town is. Now, at that point, I'd never even heard of Solvang. I spent 5 minutes there, and then went to find out what this was about. I walked down the street. Everyone's friendly. Everyone's white. They're all with a Danish accent. I walk into one of the stores, a very nice lady behind the counter is trying to sell me cookies. She says, you know, you are the first black person I've been here, and I've been here for 6 months. Why don't they come? I think they would love it. Why don't they come? I'm the whitest black person I know, and I didn't even know it existed. But it figures I would find this place on my trip. I mean, I'm an African-American Protestant, purposefully driving to see all 21 Catholic missions by himself. Every place I go, people are so excited to see me, I get recategorized as some other famous black person. So it figures that I would stumble upon what is, in my view, probably the whitest tourist attraction in America. And I loved it. But I will say this, I'm just very glad that nobody mistook me for LeBron James. Moving on. Next stop. Mission Santa Barbara, Virgin y Martyr, 1786. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. This is the only church in the chain with twin bell towers. Now, I go inside, and of course the church is beautiful, but at this point, I kind of don't care anymore. So I leave, I go to Starbucks. I'm standing in line to get coffee. Up walks this young brunette woman. She looks kind of pissed. She's like standing behind me, just kind of tapping her foot. So I think, okay, who's it going to be today? Sam Jackson, maybe? Hey, how about Idris Elba? So I wait. You know, I waited for you last night. You don't chat me up for 3 hours, go to the bathroom, and then disappear and never come back. Who the hell do you think you are? I wasn't at a bar last night, so I don't know who she is. Her friend comes up right behind her. Tara, 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 what? That's not him. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was kind of wasted last night. I thought you were, what was his name? Anyway, you're way hotter. And they walk away. I don't care how drunk you were. You chat a guy up for 3 hours and you have no idea who he was. Hello, non-black America. We don't all look alike. All I want to do is see the missions. I don't want to participate in this weird racial, social experiment on racial identity. I'm tired of this. I grab my coffee. I storm out of Starbucks. I want to talk to nobody. Terrence! Terrence! I look up. There's a black guy across the street yelling at Terrence. I don't know who he is, so I just keep walking. Terrence! He gets closer to me. I look around. Okay, I'm the only one here. So, rapidly I think. Famous Terrences, quickly. Terrence Howard. Or, Terrence Stamp. That is it. Terrence! He's right up in my face. Terrence, man, what is going on? Man, we were supposed to play tennis. What happened to you? Blink, blink. Puts on glasses. Oh, man, I'm sorry, man. I thought you were my boy, Terrence. Sorry about that, man. They just kind of hits me on the arm and walks away as if the conversation never happened. The guy must play tennis blindfolded. Let me recap. Black man mistakes me for another black man. God, just completely invalidated my rantings on race. I want to play the victim. I was enjoying it. I like giving my non-black brethren a little bit of crap for being a little racially insensitive. But apparently black people don't know what I look like either. You know, it was cool when I was getting re-identified as famous black people. You know, like Richard, cool, right? But now I'm just getting categorized as the random black guy. This has now turned into an existential crisis. I am questioning everything. I mean, who am I? I mean, why am I even on this trip? What do these people think I look like? Who do I look like? I mean, how do we recognize each other? I mean, do we look at details? Or is the physical just kind of an initial identifier? Who invented liquid soap and why? Okay, example, not about liquid soap. 3 doctors I used to work with, Dr. L, Dr. S, Dr. K. All of them about 58, all of them white, all wore glasses, all were bald. Looked nothing alike, yet everybody kept mistaking one for the other. And don't get me started on days where we had Dr. Chang, Dr. Chen, and 2 Dr. Chins working at the same time. I mean, maybe the whole thing had nothing to do with race. Yeah, okay, that last example had a lot to do with race. I mean, my head is starting to spin, and what's worse, this is mission number 15 out of 21, and they're all starting to blend together. I feel like I am being dared by God to finish this trip. This is now a quest for survival. I'm going to finish this trip as quickly as possible with minimum collateral damage, no matter who I look like, whether there's Native American history or not, whether these churches all look the same. Because when I get back to San Francisco, everything will make sense. Vámonos. Next trip, next journey. Mission, San Buenaventura, 1782. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid. This is the last mission that was established by Junipero Serra. I walk inside. Boring. Next. I drive on to my next mission. San Fernando Rey de España, 1797. New category, LA style. Useless mission factoid. Gold was discovered on an onion patch on this mission in 1842, 7 years before the gold rush. I walk around. Now this place just screams LA. It's not white adobe, it's gold adobe. There are beautiful walls around the outside, lovely manicured lawns. I mean, lifestyles of the rich and famous would love this place. This baptistry is laden with 24-karat gold. This is Robin Leach, wishing you champagne kisses and Catholic dreams. It's late in the afternoon. I've got other missions to see, and traffic is building, so I decide to leave. As I walk across the LA-inspired Vegas-style garden, I notice a really over-the-top crypt. Archbishop of Hollywood? Just check this out. I read the name. Leslie Towns Hope.
Huh?
No. Bob Hope is buried at this mission. Why not? It's LA. You know, you really shouldn't leave your grandmother in the sun like that. This little well-coiffed lady has snuck up on me. My grandmother's dead. Now, I just said that because my grandmother really is dead. The color drops from this woman's face. What? Oh my God, what is wrong with you people? You people? I look at her, and then behind her I see an elderly black woman in a wheelchair, and next to her is her grandson, probably blocked by the trees. Ma'am, her family's next to her. Oh my God, thank God I was gonna say! And she just walks away. No, you mean that's not your grandmother? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Just assume they left my dead grandmother to rot in the hot sun in the middle of the mission next to Bob. I wanted to say something, but I was without words. I quickly tried to think of some of my grandmother's sayings, and she had a bunch of them. She ain't ugly. She just don't favor nobody else. If she was mad, boy, I'll jump down your throat, tap dance on your gizzards, and dare your bowels to move. My personal favorite. It take a lot of screws to build a crib, but only one to fit it. Love my grandmother. She survived Jim Crow in Georgia, grew up on a red clay road with a 3-room house that didn't have an inside bathroom until the 60s. And this woman, this wasn't nice people trying to make me feel at home by saying I look like somebody famous, or mistaken identity at a bar. This was something different. My muscles are twitching. My neck gets tight. My stomach starts to churn. I'm sweating, and not because it's 100 degrees outside. Fred Voice and Angry Fred Voice are having a war. Man, kick her ass. I don't do that. She's a B-I-T-C. I don't use that language. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Man, she talking about your grandmother. I bolt after this woman. I get about 3 yards behind her, and I stop because I hear my grandmother's voice saying to me, bless her heart. She's just an old white lady. Grandson, you ain't got to worry about her. God will take care of that mess. She's right. Going after that lady wouldn't get me anywhere except arrested and put in jail. But I think to myself, if the old lady in the wheelchair had been white, and her grandson had been white, and I had been white, would that woman have said the same thing? Don't know. My neck is relaxed. My muscles are relaxed. I'm still sweating because it's 105 degrees. I ain't got to worry about that lady. God will take care of that mess. So I get in my car, and I drive to the next mission. 29 miles and 2 hours later in LA traffic, I arrive at Mission San Gabriel Archangel, 1771. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid, the only mission designed like a Moorish fortress with the long buttresses and the long windows. And the inside of the cathedral is really beautiful. But that's not what's interesting, because I walk outside and I see a theater next door. I'm an actor. I'm curious. I go, look, it's the Mission Playhouse. The sign says, this is the home of the Mission Play, which I'd never heard of. So that evening, I pull out my mission book and I read. And I find out that in 1911, an LA Times writer named John McGroarty wrote The Mission Play, which was a history of the founding of the missions. The play ran for 17 consecutive years until 1929. It had a cast of upwards to 300 people and was seen by 2.5 million folks. I had to find out about this play. I found an original script at the Bancroft Library. Now, I would like to present to you a few lines from the Mission Play, A Pageant in 3 Acts, by John Stephen McGroarty, copyright 1911. A great change, you may well say, Madre Dios, were the savages so stupid, so dirty, so hopeless, as ever seen as these Indians of California when we landed at San Diego 15 years ago? It is a miracle when I see these Indians at work in the fields, when I see them making tiles and brick and building churches and houses, when I see these women making garments and all these wild red men who were naked, now wearing clothes like Christians, I can hardly believe my senses. God, I can hardly believe what I'm saying. I mean, there's a moment where it says here, an Indian leader yells, "Hoyo!" and then he yells, "Homente!" and it says, 5 Indians, painted and dressed in skins, all shout and dance wildly across the stage. I mean, this play makes me want to go out and run a John Wayne movie. You know, where the white guys painted themselves as Indians and said, "How, white man, me is Kawana, me come in peace." Or maybe an episode of Amos and Andy. "You okay there, Andy?" "Yes, sir, Amos. We is rolling in dough." Woo! Authentic history. Now, I understand better how the Native American story got lost. If that's the history that's seen by 2.5 million people and nobody questions it, thankfully, someone did. Several months after I was there, they celebrated the 100th anniversary of that play. They remounted it and they rewrote it to modernize it. And I saw the play on video. It's still a bad play. Next day, I drove to Mission San Juan Capistrano, 1775. Category, original. Useless mission factoid, Sarah Chapel, on site, is still the oldest continually used structure in the state of California. Now, besides Sarah Chapel, it's known for the Great Stone Church. At its time, it was the largest church in all of California. It was built by the Native Americans and the Franciscans. It was supposedly gorgeous. The early morning, December 1812, there are 40 neophytes who gather for Mass, and 2 Native American boys in the tower, when a massive earthquake hits. The tower collapses into the roof, the walls collapse, blocking the door, and then cave in on the parishioners. Everyone perishes. They're all buried on site. And the stone church has never been rebuilt. They call this the American Acropolis. And I stand in the middle of the ruins. And I think of myself and my family and my church members being told by our conquerors that we can no longer worship a certain way. We have to follow a new faith. After years, we all work together, we build a new structure. We're all sitting there one morning, worshiping our new faith, and then everything caves in on top of us. Can't even imagine. But I'm glad they didn't rebuild it. I mean, for me, it's the best way to memorialize those who lost their lives. And it is the high point of the trip. I wander around a bit, and then I go to the LA portion of the mission, which is a quadrangle, which has been completely rebuilt with beautiful wrought iron benches all around where people are painting and having lunch and doing their work. In the middle of this wonderful big fountain with lily pads and those giant steroid-induced goldfish swimming around. There's a lot of touristy kids around. People are painting. I last about a minute and I go back to the original ruins. I'm standing looking at the bells from the tower. There's a little girl and her dad close by, and she's staring. I mean staring. "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad," pulling on his leg. "Dad, Dad." Finally, Dad says, "What? Dad? He looks like the darky president you and Mom hate."
Oh my God.
Dad gets red, pushes the little girl behind and says, "Don't bother the nice man." Kids say the damnedest things. So do their parents. And I walk away. You know, I look nothing like him, but I'll take that compliment any day. You know, kids will say what they want and usually repeat what their parents will tell them. I would love to have been in the car on the way home with the dad and the daughter. Honey, why would you say that to the nice man? Because, Dad, you're a dumbass. Drive on. Mission San Luis Rey Francia, 1798. Category, replicant. Useless mission factoid, the only church remaining that is built in the shape of a cross. The other one was San Juan Capistrano. I go up to the entrance because I want to go inside of the sanctuary, but there's a big wrought iron gate. It doesn't move. It looks like there's lights on inside, and there's a big sign in front of me. This church is undergoing renovations for the next 2 months. No! I don't get to see the church. I felt like Clark W. Griswold facing Marty Moose having gone, oh! I stick my face in the wrought iron and try to look. And I hear, oh, I'm sorry, but the church is closed for renovations. I hope you haven't driven very far. It's a friar from the mission. You have no idea. This is the 20th mission, and I don't get to see it. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But that's amazing that you've already seen, what, 19 so far? That's wonderful. Are you Catholic? No, sir, I'm not, but I went to Catholic schools. Oh. Well, do you know about Father Tolton? Who? Oh, his eyes just light up. Oh, Father Tolton, Augustus Tolton, Father Tolton. He was the first black priest in this country. He was a former slave, and then he served in the Archdiocese of Chicago. And we are part of the committee that is getting him to be made into a saint, and he's already passed the first hurdle. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I've never heard of that. Have you ever seen his picture? Because you look like you can be very much like him. Has anyone ever told you that? No. Well, God bless you, my son. And then he walks on his merry way. And yeah. Even the Catholic Church is in on this. And I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't too disappointed. When he started with the whole African-American blah, 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 I was like, okay, it's gonna happen here too. I would have been disappointed had he said nothing, probably. I don't look like this guy. But I admire him trying to be friendly with me. I leave and I go to my last mission. Mission San Diego de Alcala, 1769. Category, restoration. Useless mission factoid, this is the first mission established in California. And I walk inside of the sanctuary. The only thing that's original really is the facade. Everything else has been restored. It's beautiful. Huh. Well, this is where this whole mess started. I wonder where the bodies are. I leave the church and I head toward the gift shop, not quite aware of what I've done. I mean, 21 missions, 700 miles, and they all kind of blend together. But as I stand in the gift shop and I look at this display of miniature California missions, and I'm thinking of buying every single one of them, it all comes flooding back. I mean, the Indiana Jones light at Carmel, the lack of Native American history pretty much everywhere, all those beautiful vestments from Santa Ynez, and of course, those gorgeous watercolors from Solano Mission. You know, it took a lot of effort, but I think I'm finally on the right track to learning the entire mission history. Oh my God, you're him! There's a little British lady across the aisle from me in the store. You're Daley Thompson! Now, how many of you know who Daley Thompson is? This is Daley Thompson. Black British decathlete from the 1980s. Her husband's with her. I didn't think so. I'm not him now. See, honey, it's not him. He's a Yank. Well, it looks like him. Well, wait a minute. What was that movie we saw on the plane ride over? You thought the original was better. This one had Sam Jackson. Right! The original shout. You look like Richard Ramsey. Is anyone ever after that? Oh, frickin' circle. Bloody hell. And now I start thinking of everything else. Sidney Poitier and Rayford Johnson and the black guy who had no idea what his tennis partner looks like. You know, I kind of always wanted to be able to equate the missions with Shaft. Well, at this point I figure, you know, if you can't beat them, just join them.